Welcome to Global English Tales. Today begins the journey of how I learned English in just 3 months. Let's begin. Part 1. The Spark of a Dream. I had a big dream. I wanted to speak English. My English was very poor. I knew only 5 words. People spoke English around me. I felt left out. I decided to change this. I made a promise. I worked at a small company. My boss spoke English daily. I could not understand him. I felt frustrated. My friends traveled abroad. They used English with ease. I wanted to travel too, but I was scared. I went to a bookstore. I looked at English books. The words looked hard. I felt overwhelmed. My sister lived in America. She spoke English perfectly. I was jealous of her. I wanted her skill. That day, I decided I would learn fast. I gave myself 3 months. I would work hard. I told my family. Some believed me. Others said it was impossible. I ignored them. I bought a beginner's book. It had pictures. The cover was bright blue. I felt excited. I opened the first page. It taught colors. Red, blue, green were first. I wrote them. I studied every morning. I woke at 6. I spent 1 hour learning. I felt proud. I practiced writing words. I said them aloud. My voice was shaky, but I tried daily. Part 2. Laying the Foundations. On day 8, I learned numbers. I counted to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4 were new. I wrote them down. I labeled my house items. The fridge said fridge. The mirror said mirror. I read labels daily. I used an app on my phone. It taught new words. I played matching games. I earned small rewards. I listened to English songs. The tunes were catchy. I sang along slowly. I learned simple words. I watched kids' cartoons on TV. The speech was clear. I paused and repeated. I copied each sentence. I wrote words in a notebook. I carried it everywhere. I looked up meanings. I drew small pictures, too. I practiced with my mirror. I said greetings daily. "Hello, how are you?" I asked. I answered, too. I joined an online chat group. I typed, "Hello" first. People responded kindly. They corrected me gently. I made a new friend online. Her name was Sarah. She lived in Canada. We talked every evening. She spoke slowly for me. She sent simple texts. I read and replied. I felt less afraid. By week 2, I knew 50 words. I was excited still. My dream felt closer. I kept working hard. Part 3. Conquering Fear. In week 3, I spoke to strangers. I ordered coffee once. "1 coffee, please," I said loudly. The barista smiled. I asked for directions once. "Where is the train station?" A woman helped me. She used simple English. I wrote short diary entries. Today was good. I wrote nightly. I described simple things. I wrote 2 lines daily. I listened to beginner podcasts. The hosts spoke slowly. I followed along carefully. I learned new phrases. I watched English news for learners. The stories were short. I understood half the words. I felt proud of progress. I joined a local meetup group. We met on Saturdays. Everyone was learning too. We practiced together kindly. We played vocabulary games. We laughed a lot. Mistakes were okay. We helped each other always. I practiced tongue twisters daily. She sells seashells. I tried. My pronunciation improved slowly. I recorded my voice. I called my sister in English. "Hello, sister," I said. She replied kindly. She corrected me gently. I read a children's book. It had pictures and words. I sounded out each word. I understood simple sentences. By the end of week 3, I felt braver. I spoke more daily. I still made mistakes, but I did not stop practicing. Part 4. Celebrating Small Wins. In week 4, I joined a conversation class. It met twice weekly. We practiced speaking. We asked and answered questions. I introduced myself to the group. I spoke clearly. I smiled at everyone kindly. I described my job in English. I work in sales. I said. They asked follow-up questions. I answered with simple words. I learned common questions next. What do you like? Was first. I practiced answers. I like music, I said daily. I wrote longer diary entries. 2 sentences per line. 2 lines per day. I filled pages quickly. I watched an English movie with subtitles. I paused often. I repeated sentences. I noted new vocabulary. I read an easy news article. I underlined words I did not know. I looked them up. I wrote definitions in my notebook. I texted my friend Sarah in English. We talked about weather. "It is sunny today," she said. "I like sun," I replied. I practiced ordering food at a restaurant. I rehearsed phrases. "May I have the menu?" I asked. I practiced at home. By week 4, I knew over 100 words. I felt excited daily. My confidence grew. I looked forward to week 5. Part 5. Immersion and Growth. In week 5, I heard my first English dream. I woke surprised. I remembered speaking clearly. I felt joy inside. I started thinking in English. I named objects silently. My brain began to switch. I translated less each day. I watched a talk show segment. The host spoke moderately fast. I understood most sentences. I noted the rest down. I read a small novel chapter. I guessed some meanings. I used context clues. I enjoyed the story more now. I joined a language exchange app. I helped someone learn my native language. They helped me learn English grammar. We exchanged messages daily. I practiced past tense phrases. I went to park, I said. I described yesterday's activities. I spoke with my mirror, too. I took a guided online quiz. It tested my vocabulary. I scored 80%. I felt proud but saw gaps. I learned connectors next, and, but, and because were useful. I made simple compound sentences daily. I felt more fluent. I spoke with tourists at a museum. They asked about history. I answered in English. They commended my clear speech. By the end of week 5, I felt a shift. English felt more natural. My smile grew when I spoke. My promise held true. Part 6. Stepping up my skills. In week 6, I joined an advanced class. We discussed simple topics. We asked and answered questions. I felt both nervous and excited. I gave a short presentation. I talked about my hobby. I used new words proudly. I received kind applause. I learned conditional phrases. If I study hard, I will succeed. I practiced them daily. I wrote 5 sentences each morning. I spoke with a native tutor. They corrected me gently. I asked for feedback. My pronunciation improved steadily. I read a magazine article. It had photos and captions. I matched words to images. I understood most content easily. I watched a documentary. The speaker spoke moderately fast. I paused and replayed. I wrote down key phrases. I wrote an email to my boss. I used formal language politely. I asked for feedback on my report. He replied positively. I chatted with Sarah on video. We laughed a lot. I described my week in English. She praised my progress. I listened to a podcast about travel. I learned useful phrases. Where is the restroom? How much is the ticket? I repeated. I practiced writing thank you notes. I sent them to teachers. They responded warmly. I felt motivated and supported. Part 7. Real-world practice. In week 7, I traveled to another city. I booked tickets online. I read the confirmation email. I understood every word. At the train station, I asked, "Which platform for the train?" The staff guided me clearly. I thanked them politely. I explored museums alone. I read English signs and labels. I read exhibit descriptions. I learned new vocabulary there. I visited a cafe for lunch. I ordered with confidence. "May I have a sandwich, please?" I said. The waiter smiled. I practiced small talk with locals. "Nice day, isn't it?" I asked. They nodded and replied. I felt included and happy. I wrote postcards in English. I described the city sights. I mailed them home. Friends wrote back excitedly. I took a walking tour. The guide spoke clearly. I followed along easily. I learned local history. I joined an English book club online. We discussed a short story. I shared my opinion. Others listened and responded kindly. I returned home proud. Travel practice boosted my skills. I saw my growth clearly. I looked forward to week 8. Part 8. Mastering Expressions. In week 8, I tackled idioms. I learned 10 new ones. Break a leg and piece of cake were first. I used them daily. I practiced phrasal verbs too. Look up, turn on, give up. I wrote sentences with each. I spoke them aloud often. I watched a play at the theater. Actors spoke fluent English. I followed the plot. Humor and drama both made sense. I wrote a short story, 12 sentences long only. I used past and present tenses. I shared it in class. I joined a debate session. The topic was simple. I expressed my view. I learned to listen respectfully. I attended a live radio interview online. The host asked questions. I answered in English. They praised my clarity. I practiced job interview questions. Tell me about yourself. I rehearsed. I recorded my answers. I improved tone and pace. I volunteered at a community event. I helped set up booths. I spoke with visitors. They appreciated my clear English. I celebrated small wins daily, every new word learned. My confidence soared. English was my companion now. Part 9. Nearing Fluency. In week 9, I dreamed entirely in English. I woke thrilled. I recalled full conversations. My subconscious was learning. I read a classic novel's first chapter. I understood context. I looked up a few words. The story flowed nicely. I listened to a live webinar. The speaker used varied vocabulary. I took notes quickly. I captured key ideas accurately. I wrote a research summary. I used formal structure. I shared it with classmates. They applauded my effort. I conducted a short survey. I asked questions in English. I collected responses easily. I analyzed and reported findings. I taught a mini lesson online. I explained a grammar rule. Students asked questions. I answered clearly and patiently. I joined a social event. I introduced myself warmly. I chatted with many people. I enjoyed every conversation. I reviewed my first notebook. I saw my early mistakes. I laughed at my errors. I celebrated how far I'd come. Part 10. Triumph and Beyond. In week 10, I took a mock proficiency test. I scored advanced. I felt thrilled beyond words. My hard work paid off. I prepared my resume in English. I wrote clear points. I applied for international jobs. Interviews came quickly. I volunteered as translator. I helped non-English speakers. They thanked me sincerely. I felt proud to assist. I joined a speaking club. I delivered a 5-minute speech. I used varied vocabulary. The audience clapped loudly. I collaborated on a project. Team communication was in English. We planned and executed smoothly. I contributed confidently. I tutored a beginner student. I shared my journey. They thanked me deeply. I inspired their motivation. I read a full novel without help. The plot was engaging. I understood characters fully. I finished it in days. I watched a complex film. I followed every scene. I discussed themes with friends. We enjoyed rich dialogue. I reflected on my journey. From 5 words to fluency. 3 months of effort changed my life. English was now home.